Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleep and dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. This evening, I'm looking at the subject of sleep learning, or is it really possible to learn while you're asleep? Um, well, we first of all have to start from the fact that it's well known and research has borne out the fact that sleep is crucial for learning and memory formation when we're awake. But the scientists have even been able to pick out specific memories and consolidate them during sleep. But the exact mechanisms as to what is happening and why it's happening have really been unknown until now. And in the not too distant future, they may be actually able to induce brain waves to encourage learning during sleep. But this idea of learning in our sleep has been kicked around for a long time, from uh, research done back in the early 50s to episodes from The Simpsons. The idea of learning in one's sleep has been around for a long time, and artists as well as scientists have been kicking it around, trying to figure out how or if productivity could be improved if sleep was used as a time for learning. The latest research seems to suggest that there is something to this, and the scientists are moving closer to understanding exactly what's happening in the brain when we're asleep, and how this state can possibly affect memory formation and learning. Now, there are several ways that have already been proven to work. Funnily enough, it was from a 19th century French nobleman. The gentleman, the Marquis d'Hervé de Saint Denis, very, very high society gentleman, was looking into ways he could direct his dreams to evoke certain memories. And the way he did it was, while writing a book about his experiences, he used smells, tastes, and sounds to be able to evoke certain memories. So while this Marquis was really just wanted to entertain some lusty thoughts and during his sleep, about the memories that were being evoked, it looks like the same approach can also trigger the sleeping brain to replay the learning or skills that have been picked up during the waking hours and reinforcing memory in the process. But let's look at these different items or different areas that the Marquis had actually used to be able to enhance his memories. The first was taste. In one experiment, he painted a scantily clad woman while chewing on a piece of orris root, which has a licorice flavor. When he had the servant a servant place the same piece of orris root or licorice flavored stuff in his mouth while he slept, and the flavor brought back memories of this semi-clad woman in a standing in the entranceway of a theater. So he wrote this, noted this in his a book he wrote called Dreams and How to Guide Them. He also used sound on a different occasion. This gentleman asked the conductor of an orchestra to play a certain waltz whenever he danced with two particularly attractive women. He then had somehow rigged up a clock to a music box to play the same tunes during the night, and it brought as the music played, the memories would come up in the form of a dream of these two women. So, but this is something we see every day in nursery schools. And how do we teach our babies and young children? We sing songs to them, nursery rhymes and what have you. So, I mean, it's something that we do unconsciously, but it could be a useful tool actually to be able to learn all kinds of things if they get the science right or the methodology right. um, there's also the proviso that the sounds can trigger the memory recall, but providing they're not so loud or discordant or whatever that they actually wake you up. One study that was performed, the volunteers found it easier to master a musical game like Guitar Hero if they heard soft strains of the melody while they were sleeping. A researcher at the University of Zurich found that the same setup helps Swiss German speakers learn Dutch vocabulary, allowing them to remember 10% more of the vocabulary than this people in the study who did not hear this music. Smell is another way that the memory can be evoked. And I can vouch for this from personal experience. I was qualifying for taking my practical exam to qualify as an aromatherapist years ago. And I was getting everything ready, doing my last bit of revision. And I was looking at the oil, essential oil cardamom. And it was like, holy shit. I forgot the oils that I needed to put into my bag to take for the practical exam. I would have flunked if I hadn't remembered. But cardamom is actually good for the memory. So, that last little bit of revision and even just the name cardamom already evoked, oh, I need to remember something, and I remembered my oil. So I can vouch for that. But in other instances, working with clients, I've found that certain oils could actually change people's moods, um, depending on what the particular oil was and what their associations with it were. But the reason why this happens is that scent goes from the nasal receptors into what's called the limbic brain, or the reptilian brain, the oldest part of the brain to have formed in human beings. So this is where our emotions and our feelings are stored, but also it's where our survival instinct lies. So, you see Sabretooth run, that's where that brain developed, the oldest part of the brain. So it sense or smell will evoke instant recall. Instant. I mean, think about when you pass by a coffee shop and smell the coffee, or baking bread. It has different memories for different people, but it brings up a memory instantly. So, but the technology is probably where the biggest boost in being able to get into what is happening within the brain while the brain is asleep, and also what happens with learning, where that happens in the brain and how. And in the near future, they might be some way of upgrading the brain's sleep cycles, because memory consolidation is thought to occur during specific, very slow oscillations of electrical activity in the brain. So delta waves, those are those big, looping, slow waves that are stretched out. And so there's an idea forming that it may be possible to somehow encourage these slower brain waves without actually waking the subjects undergoing this testing, without being woken up. So there's um, in back in 2004 in the University of Tübingen in Germany, the um, a researcher found that they could actually help amplify the brain signals through this stimulation of the cranium through the skull, not inside your head literally, but on the through the scalp, using a very small electric current across the skull. And it did actually improve the participants' performance with regard to doing a verbal memory test. But even in more recent years, some additional research has led to a less invasive form of stimulation, which just uses a skull cap of electrodes to measure neural activity, while headphones are delivering different sounds that are in sync with the brain's slower delta waves. Now, if you're not keen on the idea of sitting around with big headsets, headphones on your head, there's some research that's being done at the Technion Institute of Technology in Israel, where they are using a form of neurofeedback, which allows the subjects to actually control their neural activity while they are awake. So they're not even asleep. And it's thought that this would help to kickstart memory consolidation immediately after learning, so that it gives the brain, a sleeping brain, a head start on moving that memory into more permanent memory. I was saying last week that things get parked in short-term memory during the day, and then during the night the brain is moving that, classifying that stuff, and then moving it into longer term memory. But what's essentially the researcher here is saying that you're creating a seed during the day that then grows at night. And when this was tested, some preliminary testing was done, where the participants were asked to learn a complex sequence of some finger movements, like learning to play something on the piano, and then having this biofeedback for 30 minutes afterwards. What they found was the change and benefits were instantaneous, immediate. Right after the training, they were about 10% better than the control group who didn't have this biofeedback, suggesting that this computer game that was used to deliver this test actually had begun to stabilize the memories as if they had actually been asleep, and the brain was moving stuff into more permanent memory areas. And what was even more interesting was that the improvements continued as they were tested even into the following week, supporting the theory that neurofeedback could actually help memories to grow during sleep. So there's a lot of promise and a lot of research being done more seriously, and as the neuroscience and understanding the brain has become more of a priority these days, you can expect probably within the next, let's say, 10 years or less, that we will be learning somehow while we're sleeping, get more out of your day. Well, there you have it. Sleep learning. I said, if you've got any experiences where learning, you found that you were able to learn in your sleep, tell me, drop me a line, let me know. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and start to the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.